Some residents of Alabama, a state that overwhelmingly voted for President Donald Trump, the most recent election, got a little gift in return for their vote, a $100 increase in their electric bill. Hmm. So, wow. On February 4th, Huntsville Utilities in Alabama sent some of its customers a letter alerting them that a grant that they had previously received was no longer valid. The grant was distributed by the Community Action Partnership of Huntsville/Madison and Limestone counties. In a photo of such a letter posted to Facebook, the utility company told its customer that the grant that they had received for $100 on January 23rd, 2025 is no longer valid. Why? President Trump's executive order to rescind the funding behind the grant. So this is a part of that funding freeze. Okay. The company then alerted the customer that the $100 was debited to their account and was due on their next invoice. Hey, here you go. What a surprise. You owe us an extra $100. Wow. Not good. So now this is a part of the part of $1 million from the Infrastructure Investment in Jobs Act. Okay, this is the bipartisan infrastructure deal that went to help people who are low income, okay, and need help with their utility bills. So now, this was not more than the $50 million in federal funding that Alabama received for something called the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, right? That was unaffected by Donald Trump's executive order because the funds actually came from the Department of Health and Human Services. However, that $1 million is part of LHEAP's or LEHEAP's heating bill assistance to those in need. Okay, so now that act basically granted an additional $100 to households receiving LEHEAP assistance. Yet Trump's executive order, the Unleashing American Energy Act or whatever, had paused the supplemental funding from the bipartisan infrastructure bill, meaning that the families who received the grant back in January now have to pay for it with their next electric bill. So, yeah, a Facebook post from an account that shared an image of one of the Huntsville utility letters said Huntsville, Alabama had a federally funded grant program that helped low-income people pay their utility bills. Trump ended that program by executive order, and now people are sent bills to repay the grants that they received in January and will be getting no such support moving forward. When billionaires say that they are cutting government waste, this is what they mean. Yes. The Unleashing American Energy executive order reads all agencies shall immediately pause the disbursement of funds appropriated through the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The executive order goes on to say that those agencies shall review their processes, policies, and programs for issuing grants, loans, contracts, or any other financial disbursements of such appropriated funds for consistency with the order's law and policy. So understand that helping low-income people pay their energy bills when they can't afford it is, to them, considered to be waste. Okay? Now, look, Huntsville is in Madison County. Madison County voted 54% for Donald Trump. Certainly not as dramatic as some of the other counties. Winston, for example, voted 91% for Trump. Claiborne, 91%. Marion, 90%. Blount, 90%. Coleman, 89%. Geneva, 88%. Lamar, 87%. Cherokee, 87%. Franklin, 86%. And Covington, 85.9%. But still, over half the county voted for Trump, voted for this. Now, that sucks for everyone else. All right? I mean, yes, in this case, it's just over 250 people that are affected by this, okay? That are now getting a surprise bill and no more help for their energy bills. That is a significant amount of money to people who are low income, okay? Over half of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. Now, they can't afford a extra $100 on their utility bill. And this is just one of the results of Donald Trump's executive orders. Because he spent the first few days just pumping these executive orders out, okay, signing the hell out of them. And so this is a result. And by the way, it's specifically the illegal funding freezes, right? Um, that haven't just hurt poor people. They're hurting farmers. They're hurting scientists, researchers, okay, and people who have cancer, okay, union workers, and government employees. I mean, just on Friday, they began firing the probationary employees. Oh, well, probationary, right? That must mean they were doing something wrong. No, it's just they were new hires. Okay, that's really all that means. Oh, you're new, so we're gonna have to watch you for a month, okay, and see if you're doing a good job, and then hire you on full time, right? Get you out of that probationary period, okay. Pretty much all private sector jobs have that, and so it's not surprised that public sector jobs have that as well. But now anybody who's a probationary employee is getting fired. So look, regardless of who you voted for, if you're in one of those groups, guess what? You're screwed. Okay, that's it. People like Donald Trump have screwed you. Look, you got programs like the IRA, like the bipartisan infrastructure law, that have been the source for tens of billions of dollars in grant money to businesses, state and local governments, and nonprofits. A lot of this stuff, again, goes to help businesses and poor people. Okay, those contracts, they're just not like a magical pool of money. They actually do things, right? And some of the things they do is spur investment. Companies have taken that money and have bought land. They have hired people, created jobs. They have contracted other companies or other people for services. Now, thanks to Trump, they're finding out that these contracts, for money that they've already spent, they will not be reimbursed for this. Okay? Donald Trump is not going to honor those contracts, which should not be a surprise to anyone who's ever paid attention to Donald Trump. He has a history of hiring people to do things and then not paying them. Anybody who's been paying attention to Donald Trump's history knows this. Unfortunately, you have a lot of people who don't watch YouTube shows, that don't watch people like me who are actually trying to give you factual information, okay, about Donald Trump. They get it from Fox News, or they get it from an influencer who doesn't really mention any of this stuff, doesn't mention the downsides of Donald Trump. And certainly there's a lot of them, okay, a lot of downsides, things that he has actually done. And he has stiffed so many people. He has a history of refusing to pay people money that he owes. And it goes all the way back, way, way before politics. He was stiffing contractors. Okay? So that's what he's doing. He's broken so many contracts and screwed so many people over. This shouldn't be a surprise. Okay? Shouldn't be a surprise at all. And you know what? Even though he has been ordered several times now by the courts to restore this funding, he has refused to do it. What's going to happen if this goes to Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says, okay, you're going to have to pay this money, and he says no? Then what? Then what? And while that constitutional crisis is playing out, you have people that have depended on this money, companies that are doing layoffs, furloughs, and then you have other companies that don't receive the money that just, end up closing up shop. And so killing small business. What's going to happen then? Massive unemployment, massive unrest. That's what's going to happen. Okay. Look, here's the thing. The damage is already done. And I think that was the whole point. Donald Trump has come in to wreck government. And it's exactly what he's doing. So, I mean, you get what you pay for, I guess. Get what you vote for. And sadly, though, I don't think a lot of those people who said, yeah, go ahead, come in and take a wrecking ball to the government, didn't realize how essential government is to their lives and well-being. And until enough of his own voters feel the effects of that, because I know we all, everyone else certainly is, but until his own voters feel that, they're going to continue to cheer for the obvious and wanton destruction of our country. It appears that one of the groups responsible for helping to put Donald Trump back in the White House is having some regret. Okay, not exactly thrilled with his job performance. According to a new Economist slash YouGov poll, the 47th president's favorability rating among Gen Z voters has tanked dramatically since the election. Well, it did not take long. Well, how bad is it? It couldn't be that bad, right? He's massively underwater. The survey released on Wednesday revealed the president's net favorability rating among those aged 18 to 29 currently sits at minus 18 points. Wow.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, that is a drop from the plus 19 favorable rating that he scored among this very same demographic in the days following his win. This is a 37-point drop among that demographic. Holy crap. He's also dropped in the polling among many other people. Survey shows that a majority of U.S. adults have an unfavorable view of Trump. It's at 52%, while 46% still have a positive view of him, giving him a net favorable of -6. So, but you can see among young people, the shift was even more dramatic. I mean, you had a complete reversal in just a short amount of time of Trump actually being in power. Among the 340 younger voters who participated in the November survey, 57% said that they had a favorable view of the president, including 36% who said they had a very favorable view. And 38% of 18 to 29-year-olds previously said they had an unfavorable view of Trump. He then went on to win 47% of the Gen Z vote, which is a jump from about a third in 2020. So that's compared to former Vice President Kamala Harris is 51% of the vote, according to AP VoteCast analysis of more than 120,000 voters. Why the reversal? Why are the numbers so stark? How did he lose Gen Z so fast? I got a couple of ideas. For one, I'd have to guess that his statements about having the United States literally come and take over Gaza, kick out all the Palestinians and not let them return while he turns it into a real estate development, that might have been a contributing factor, okay? Turning it into Gaza Lago, all right? But I think there's also another factor here, and that's the fact that all those right-wing influencers that were very, very active during the election, putting out social media propaganda, they stopped getting paid. And so they're kind of silent now. All right. Look, during the election, pro-Trump media dominated, especially online. Okay. The number of posts from pro-Trump influencers, according to a Pew analysis, completely dwarfed the number of left-wing influencers. They were able to crank out content, double that of people on the left. And of course, all that content was positive, whereas the left-wing content about Harris is, hey, what about the genocide? So, but according to an analysis, these right-wing influencers posted an average of 183 times a week. Left-leaning influencers, meanwhile, posted just 72 times per week on average, less than half as much as their right-leaning counterparts. That is huge. All right. Especially considering about 1 in 5 Americans now get their news from social media influencers. Okay. Of those, they tend to be younger and less likely to pay attention to traditional corporate media. That's very important. Okay. And so, look, the Trump administration, Republicans, they knew that. They saw that. And they're like, well, nobody trusts mainstream media. The mainstream media hates me, because it's true. And so, hey, I'm going to go on Joe Rogan. I'm going to go on Theo Von's podcast. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to play the social media game, to which, By the way, President Obama was the first one to actually really push social media while the Republicans were still doing the cable news circuit. Okay, and Obama did very, very well. Republicans have learned from this and was like, hey, yes, we're gonna go social media, we're gonna go online, and we're gonna completely ignore the mainstream media that everybody hates anyway. And it worked. It worked. It was extremely effective. Okay. The Trump campaign made a huge effort to reach voters there, especially young voters and Gen Z, while Harris pretty much opted to stay in the safe, comfortable, traditional media bubble. Okay. Now, what also played a huge role in this, no doubt, was Elon Musk buying Twitter. Okay. Twitter was the go-to platform for political news influencers during the 2024 election, according to Pew. 79% of all posts analyzed in the study came from X. Just 8% were posted on YouTube, and just 6% were posted on Facebook. So, yeah. But there's more. What about TikTok, you might ask? Instagram and TikTok actually only accounted for just about 7% of social media posts that mentioned either Trump or Harris. So, no doubt, it was Twitter/X that was the main driver of this election. Elon Musk's $44 billion propaganda investment paid off in spades. This guy took over Twitter, renamed it, and then used the algorithm to elevate only the right wing while silencing and punishing the left. This is the result of that. Okay, this is the result. Now, that said, there are other factors, getting back to Trump's slipping in the polls for when it comes to Gen Z. The other factors include the mass deportation plan, which isn't exactly popular with younger voters, big surprise, and the killing of DEI. That's also not popular with younger voters, turns out. Wow, what a shocker, right? But here's the thing. This is all stuff that he planned on doing, going after DEI, mass deportation. I mean, but here's the thing. Thanks to the media, first of all, mainstream media sane-washed Trump, okay? Oh, he's not actually going to do that stuff, right? Oh, you guys got TDS. He won't actually do that. No. All that stuff about Trump was either downplayed or hidden, okay? So all the people on social media could see were messages about, hey, he's going to lower grocery prices. He's going to fight inflation. He's going to help it so that you can afford a home, okay? And they also saw how, Kamala Harris, she's going to introduce a new draft. She's going to send you off to war in Ukraine or something, okay? This was all BS. And by the way, a lot of that BS was funded by the Russian government. That's another thing. It has been proven that Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and many others on the right were getting Russian money. Look, Gen Z and that Russian money went to, of course, pay these people to lie to young people, Gen Z. And so that's the result. Now, you add that into the mistakes the Democrats made in supporting the genocide in Gaza, supporting what Joe Biden was doing and giving all the weapons and money to Benjamin Netanyahu. And you have the Democratic Party that completely ignored young progressive leadership, tried to crush young progressives everywhere they could, and doubling down on legacy media. It meant that the Democrats could not meet young people where they were, because they looked at young people and said, well, we don't need your votes anyway. F off. And so you had many in Gen Z that said, okay, well, I guess we're going to vote for Trump then. But now they're clearly feeling the bait and switch. Look, if Democrats were smart and actually wanted to win, then, well, they first replace leadership. Okay, leadership ain't working out. Okay, there's no fighters there. You think Hakeem Jeffries is going to throw punches against Trump? No, no. You think Jerry Connolly, who's fighting cancer right now, is going to have the energy to take on the excesses, the corruption of the Trump administration? No. But someone like AOC could have, but she was passed over. They need to replace that leadership. And then they actually need to go online. Meet the people where they're at. Stop limiting yourself to legacy media where nobody trusts it anyway. No, you go where the people are and you reach out. But that's not going to happen until the Democrats, run primaries, okay, and replace the gerontocracy and actually try to remake the Democratic Party into one that supports young people and members of the struggling working class and no longer represent the billionaires. The Doge website, created by Musk's gaggle of 20-year-old wunderkinds, was hacked this week. Yes, of course. 404 Media reports that some pranksters had exploited a design flaw that left the back end of Musk's freshly launched Doge website open to push fake updates. Look, if it's one thing that you should be careful of on the internet, it's leaving your back end open. Okay? Can't do that. Okay?
Can't let that happen.
Now, the Doge.gov website is designed to serve as a rudimentary information hub, mirroring posts from the Doge X account and displaying data about the cuts implemented to the federal workforce. So we just get to sit there and watch them hack away at the government. Apparently, some people are into that. I'm not so much. Now, according to two independent developers who spoke to 404 Media on the condition of anonymity, they had discovered that the site's back end is wide open. Oh boy, it's wide open.
Sexual anarchy.
No.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
With that wide open back end there. But no, okay. No, it's wide open, which allows these third parties to basically edit and send updates directly to its live pages. So they can put out anything. And of course, once they figured this one out, that's exactly what they did. Okay. And you know what? Even that one's nice. Like, hey, dum-dums, you left your database open. Hey, here you go. We just let you know. Well, that's kind of them, I suppose. Then you have this one. Hey, this is a joke of a .gov site. Yes, it is. It really is. Now, how bad is it? It turns out the site, according to multiple web developers, speaking to 404 Media, is not hosted on government servers, okay, but is instead using Cloudflare pages. So now y'all remember when Donald Trump was like calling to lock her up. You know what that was from? That was from Hillary Clinton not using a government email. Okay, so I mean, just look at that irony, right? And then you've got Doge using literal unprotected Cloudflare pages that anyone could get into and push official stuff. And by the way, that was you also had that same team that was allowed to that had opened up the email system. Speaking of emails, right? Butter emails. But now you've got agency-wide access to emails that you could go in and blast out emails to all the workers at these federal agencies. So that was a previous story. Okay? But, where's the Republican investigation of all of this? Okay? I'm waiting for that Republican investigation. James Comer, where are you? Where are you? Oh, right, you're too busy trying to run for other political office. Yeah, of course, right? And selling your crappy book. Okay. I know I'm too busy trying to track down the Biden crime family. Yes, which nobody cares about. Okay, nobody but weirdo right-wing freaks online. But anyway, okay. Now lock them up. Lock them up. Okay. Anyway, now one source even demonstrated to 404 Media that they could push data entries onto the live site by identifying the exposed API endpoints. But I love this next quote here from the source. They said, quote, of this page, feels like it was completely slapped together, and had pointed towards errors and leaked details in the page's source code. Another developer noted that the setup suggests that the site is running off a GitHub-like repository, deploying updates via Cloudflare pages instead of traditional government infrastructure. Yeah. They also note that this follows reports that waste.gov, which is probably a waste in itself, another government efficiency site, was launched with placeholder WordPress content still intact before hastily being locked behind a password. So efficient. Much security flaws. Wow. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. While this is funny, there are parts of it that are not funny. Look, Doge had reportedly gained administrator access, to various government agency code bases, including at the Department of Treasury. Okay, so these same wunderkins that are botching these websites and making it easy for people to go and blast out emails agency wide, or come in and have people go up in the back door and then put up stuff that makes fun of Elon Musk. Yeah, the same people. They were playing around, rooting around in the entire U.S. government treasury system. Okay. Now, I don't think I need to tell you that if that crashes, all hell's going to break loose. Okay. I mean, and by the way, over the last couple of weeks, think of how many foreign hackers, right, that have been sitting there getting super excited, that are watching all of this happening going, we could probably get in there if we wanted to, and we kind of do, but we might just wait for them to crash it first. Well, and by the way, look, even if that's not the case, who knows what kind of stuff these kids were instructed to stick into that code, like a backdoor that allowed Musk to literally take over the entire payment system of the United States and do whatever the hell he wants with it. That would be $6 trillion under Musk's control, along with all the banking information and social security numbers of every person that has ever filed a tax return or had received a federal government payment. That is dangerous stuff. Okay? And yet you had these people that made these very hackable websites that were allowed into that system. This is a total disaster. Total disaster. I mean, what are you doing? Now, that said, that access has been revoked. Good. And now you have the Treasury Office of Inspector General and the Government Accountability Office telling senators this week, we're going to look into this. We're going to look into the Doge employees' access to this system that they should have never had access to. Because remember, two of them had both read and write access. Should never have had either. Okay. Now, this is Treasury Deputy Inspector General Lauren Skirba saying on Thursday that the agency watchdog had initiated an audit back on February 6th into the Bureau of Fiscal Service, which manages that payment system. The audit aims to evaluate the adequacy of controls, granting and restricting access to the system, and ensuring payments are made in accordance with laws and regulations. The Treasury Department Inspector General will also follow up on any allegations of improper or fraudulent payments, like ones that went to possibly Elon Musk or any of the boys who were working on that, because we don't know. He could have. They could have. Skirba says, we expect to begin our field work immediately. Now, that's great. The only problem is it's going to take a while. Quote, given the breadth of this effort, the audit will likely not be completed until August. However, we recognize the danger that improper access or inadequate controls can pose to the integrity of sensitive payment systems. As such, if critical issues come to light before that time, we'll issue interim updates and reports. Look, I don't know what they're going to find. Okay. And it sucks that it's going to take that long. I don't even know if, Trump could fire this guy or not, or try to illegally, of course, because at this point, who's going to stop him? Right? He already tried getting rid of all the inspectors general anyway. So I don't know. I hope nothing happened. I hope there was nothing put into that system, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was. I am also glad that someone there is looking into it. Someone who is not beholden to Donald Trump or Elon Musk. But still, it should have never happened in the first place, because as you see, these people should have, they cannot be trusted around these extremely sensitive and important systems. This is just the latest example of why that's true. The Republican Party's latest assault on voting rights might actually prevent married women from being able to cast their vote. I'm not kidding. This is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, known as the SAVE Act, that was reintroduced by Texas Republican Representative Chip Roy. And it would amend the National Voter Registration Act to ensure that all the people registering to vote are U.S. citizens. Now, what could be the problem there, you ask? I don't want foreign nationals coming in and voting in our election. Nobody does. But at the same time, there's no evidence of that happening. But how would this bill prevent them from doing so? Well, it would require people, voters, to present in-person documentation as proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Now, you could register to vote online currently. With this, you wouldn't be able to. You would have to go and bring your birth certificate or other approved ID to say, hey, yeah, I'm registering to vote. So now, of course, this argument is based on the lie for this bill that millions of undocumented people have been voting in elections. Oh my God, they're voting illegally in elections. They shouldn't be voting here. Okay, but the problem is that there's not a single shred of evidence that this is actually occurring, that millions of undocumented immigrants are swaying our elections. And let me give you a small example of that. Let's look at Georgia, right? Georgia, very important. There was an audit in Georgia in the counties that happened in 2024. It found that out of 8.4 million registered voters, 20, not 20,000, not 20 million, obviously, that'd be way more. No, 20 non-citizens had attempted to vote. 20. That is 0.00024% of the state's voter list. All 20 of them, by the way, were referred to law enforcement and had no effect on the election whatsoever. 20 out of 8.4 million. So that's how widespread apparently our non-citizen voting problem is. Of course. Now that said,
just forget about the evidence.
That's what they say when you tell Republicans about this. Okay. All right. Point taken. But you ask, how will this affect women? You said that it's going to stop women from voting. How would this affect women? So remember the documentation that I was talking about? Well, much of the documentation that the SAVE Act counts as proof is really based on your birth certificate, okay? Which would have to match the person registering to vote, both first name and last name. So obviously that's already going to knock transgender people out, because a lot of transgender people, have previously changed their names from their birth name or dead name, okay, to a new name, right? That's fine. But that kicks them out of voting too, if this passes. But it would also kick out the 69 million married women in the United States. How? Because their last name wouldn't match. If you changed your legal name since getting married, well, then that would be enough to prevent you from voting. It's not a match. Oh, look at that. Oh, see, you started out with the name Baker, but now you changed it to Smith. Oh, mismatch. Must be a foreign national or something. Illegal. Throw it out. It's exactly what would happen, too. But wait a minute. Can't you just show them the proof that you were married? Like a marriage certificate, right? No. The SAVE Act does not include the proof of name change or a marriage certificate as acceptable proof of your identity. So the very thing that could prove that you are who you say you are, can't use it. Can't even show the evidence. They're not interested. The end, meaning that you are not allowed to vote now. Oh, sorry, you got married, change your name. Doesn't match your birth certificate. We don't accept your proof. So, SOL, go F off or something. Yeah. So that's the reality. All right. Now, here's the irony, right? So, like, oh my God, 69 million women will not be able to vote. That'll actually end up hurting Republicans more. How? Well, it turns out that a Pew study found that more Republican than Democratic women choose to change their name after getting married. Now, this will hurt, Democratic women who change their name. But it turns out Republican women adopt their husband's name more often. Or, there's the hyphenation, right? But some women on the Democratic side keep their, maiden name even after they get married. So they wouldn't be affected by this. Oops. Now, the SAVE Act also does accept valid passports as proof of ID. However, once again, this doesn't help Republican voters. The states with the fewest number of people with the passports are West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. All these states, of course, voted for President Donald Trump in 2024. That's right. And of course, the other thing is it's not going to affect non-married women who tend to be younger and more left-leaning. They would still be able to vote under this. And so...
Whoopsie.
But here's the thing, though. Could you imagine the kind of uprising that would happen among women, all women, by the way, if this bill got signed into law? If you prevented 69 million women from voting? Oh, and you would bet that there'd be so many divorces. And of course, who would get married? No woman in their right mind would be like, I don't know, F you, I'm not getting married. I'm not giving up my voting rights. Just get married to your ass. No, not going to happen. So you would think, of course, that Chip Roy would have thought about this, right? Would have, made it so that at least that there's acceptable proof that you could present. Turns out, no. Here's what he told Newsweek. Quote, "This is absurd armchair speculation being spun up by media outlets who care more about clicks than reality. This bill isn't being attacked because it'll exclude citizens from voting. It won't." Yeah, it would. "It's being attacked because the policy is widely popular with the American people. Its opponents want and need illegals to vote, and they'll use anything they can to attack it." Once again, very, very few cases of non-citizens attempting to vote. Okay. He talks about how, it's armchair speculation. No, the entire thing about massive amounts of illegal people who are voting, that's way more than armchair speculation. That's just pure fantasy. Okay. There are so few cases of non-citizens attempting to vote. That's just the reality. Okay. So you are arguing against reality, and ironically, you're going to be harming mostly a lot of people on your own side and keeping them from voting. This would, again, make it significantly more difficult for women who are married to register to vote. But I think that is the point. Okay. Look, I've been saying for a while, Republicans do not want anyone except for straight white men to hold political power and to be able to vote. Hell, let's add in straight white Christian, cisgender, and landowning men. That's what they want. That's what they want to go back to. They're regressives. Okay, and so I've heard Republicans openly support. Yeah, let's get rid of the 19th Amendment, women's suffrage. And so those people, they love this bill. And look, I've heard people talking about this, and it's an anecdote, right? But I have heard people talk on the right where they're like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, households shouldn't get one vote, the men's vote. That's it. Wait, what? Why? Well, I believe that households should be united in their politics. I mean, why would you marry someone if you have different political values? I mean, it's called freedom, for one. Everybody should have a vote. But yeah, no, they're like, well, if they don't have shared values, then why are they together? Well, look, if this goes through, if this somehow gets passed, guaranteed that those households will not be together much longer. Okay. Assuming, of course, they don't first gut no fault divorce. That's another thing that they have openly talked about that. Okay. Oh, yeah, we got to get rid of no fault divorce so that women cannot leave. Okay. Once they get married and they can't vote. That's the ultimate goal here. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, bills like this show you that Republicans want women to have zero political power because they do not believe that women are equal people. There is massive fallout happening in New York City. This is following Trump's DOJ, which had ordered federal prosecutors to drop the corruption charges against Democratic Mayor Eric Adams. So Manhattan's top federal prosecutor, Danielle Sassoon, and 5 other high-ranking Justice Department officials ended up resigning on Thursday after they had refused to follow that order. So, wow, this is big. Okay. Now, look, the reason that this is so notable is these aren't liberal justice officials. Okay. Sassoon is the Republican interim U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Okay. She is a lifelong Republican. All right. And yet, she has accused the Trump Department of Justice of quid pro quo. So basically, they would drop the case against Eric Adams, the corruption case, if Adams helps Trump deport undocumented immigrants in New York. I called it. I'm just saying I called it. Okay. I knew that there was going to be some sort of deal, and now pretty sure this is what it is. All right. So now Sassoon said that she was confident that Adams is guilty of destroying evidence and instructing others to destroy evidence of his corruption, and then providing false information to the FBI concerning his alleged acceptance of illegal campaign contributions, okay, from foreign nationals, as well as lavish travel perks such as expensive flight upgrades, luxury hotel stays, and even a trip to a bathhouse from people who wanted to buy his influence. So all this stuff about, oh, Joe Biden influence peddling. And then you've got Eric Adams being accused of influence peddling, okay, from foreign nationals. It's big news, okay? Adams, in my mind, is extremely corrupt. And that leads me to Trump, okay? Trump looks at this guy and says, well, that's my kind of guy. Not because they agree on everything, but it's because Trump can use him. That's right. And that was the whole point. Emil Bove's memo in dropping this case did not mention any legal basis for the dismissal, but it was all about politics and how Eric Adams can help the administration. In a copy of the memo published by the New York Times, Bove argued that a dismissal was necessary because the indictment hampered Adams' ability to implement Trump's immigration agenda. And it could have possibly threatened the mayoral primary in June, and because Sassoon's predecessor, Damian Williams, had, in their mind, generated prejudicial pretrial publicity. Say that 3 times fast. Now, Bove wrote that the Justice Department had, quote, reached this conclusion without assessing the strength of the evidence or the legal theories on which the case is based, which are issues on which we defer to the U.S. Attorney's Office at this time. They're talking about the evidence, right? Oh, no, we ain't got the evidence. Really? Prosecutors say that they do have proof. Stone cold proof that Adams personally directed political aides to solicit foreign donations and that he had disguised them to help the campaign qualify for a city program that provides publicly funded matches for small dollar donations. Okay. Foreign nationals, of course, are banned from contributing to U.S. election campaigns. It's one of the few campaign laws that we actually still try to enforce. Okay. That said, Trump don't care. Trump don't care. Okay. And neither does Adams. Now, Sassoon had fired back against Bove's letter by saying that she was, quote, baffled by the rushed and superficial process by which this decision was reached, noting that it appeared to be made in collaboration with Adams' counsel and without her input. Adams has argued in substance that Mr. Bove appears to prepared to concede that Adams should receive leniency for federal crimes solely because he occupies an important public position and can use that position to assist in the administration's policy priorities. This is important because it's coming from a Republican. This is a Federalist Society member who once clerked for Antonin Scalia. Okay? She is not somebody who I agree with politically. Okay? But she is actually trying to do her job to hold people accountable. And is going up against the Trump administration, who had allegedly made a corrupt deal with a corrupt official, with Mayor Adams. Okay? Look, Trump needs to do his deportation purges. Okay? That's what he wants to do. And in order to do that, it's not going to be effective unless you have the help of local law enforcement. Okay? And so Trump's like, hey, help me out. Help me get rid of the undocumented immigrants, and I will help you get away with your crime. Just like how I got away with mine. And look, he took the deal. He took the deal. Okay? It's very, very obvious that he took the deal because he's been hanging around with Trump's official Tom Homan. In fact, here's a video of them buddy-buddy on Fox News.
Governor Hochul said last night with Rachel Maddow that she would consider removing you. How would you feel about that?
She has her role, I have my role. And throughout this entire ordeal, which I think no American should have to go through, the torment of 15 months that my family and I had to endure for something I didn't do. I didn't do anything wrong. Throughout the entire ordeal, I said one thing. My attorney will handle the legal part. I'm going to handle running the city. We return jobs to our city. Our city is getting safer. We're building housing. I think that this is a great American narrative where I stood focused on what I was elected to do.
I want you to address the
Governor Hochul is an embarrassment for the position she holds. She stands on media after someone's burned alive on a subway. She stands in front of TV camera and says, I think criminal aliens should be removed too. But she's got the green light law.
So from that clip, man, Homan literally looks like he is watching over Adams. Okay? Just to make sure that he does and says everything that Trump wants him to. This is kind of how the mob works. Okay, that's what it reminded me of. it's clear that Adams is compromised. Okay. And, from that, I mean, yeah, he's going to help Donald Trump with his purge of undocumented immigrants, which is, by the way, caught up people who haven't done any crimes, as well as American citizens. Okay. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Adams is going to help him. Going to help him. And now, thanks to this, these resignations, anyone who could hold him, Adams or Trump accountable for what happens is now gone. So we are slowly losing the rule of law in this country because of corruption by not only the alleged corruption from the New York mayor, but also alleged corruption from, I believe, the most corrupt president we've ever had. So, not good. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.